From Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, September 27th, 2021. It is quiet across the prairie. We've got wind warnings in effect across some of the higher elevations here as you get into western portions of Alberta. We look at the last 7 days of precipitation, though, dry across the region, and it's going to continue to be on the dry side as we finish up the month of September and head into early October. A lot of the moisture here over the next 10 days and over the last week being deposited over the coastal portions of Western Canada here, across western portions of British Columbia on the western side of the Rocky Mountains. You can see the flow here with the jet stream. Our infrared satellite picture here on Monday morning, we've got two big areas of low pressure, one over the western coast of Canada and then another one across the east. And right now this storm across the west is helping to drive high pressure, higher atmospheric pressure across the Canadian prairie, keeping things on the clear and warmer side as we head through the majority of this week. A couple subtle frontal passages here are going to be bringing some isolated hit and miss rain opportunities here, but again, most areas going to be on the dry side over the next 10 days. We'll look at the radar picture here Monday morning. Again, some showers across the Peace River area here, getting into a Grand Prairie, maybe a few raindrops across Calgary up toward Edmonton. Very light in nature here. We'll look at the NAM model, the forecast between Monday and Thursday afternoon, and that'll show us that first frontal passage here, another little disturbance coming up out of the south. Let's take this through the day on Monday. Again, sunny skies across, about 80 to 90% of the prairie as we head through the day today. It's going to be the case on Tuesday as well. Clouds increase across southern Alberta and southwest Saskatchewan late in the day on Tuesday. And then we start to see some of those showers moving across primarily portions of central and southern Saskatchewan overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Then on Wednesday, those scattered showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder, those move across portions of Manitoba with some heavier rain possible as we get toward late week across far eastern Manitoba into Ontario. Again, much of that missing the prairie. So as we look at the next 3.5 days of precipitation, Monday through Thursday afternoon, you can see those scattered hit or miss showers, maybe a thunderstorm dropping a couple of downpours here across portions of Saskatchewan, again, Tuesday night, and then into Manitoba on Wednesday, and then some of that precipitation across far northern Alberta as we head through the next 48 hours as well. We can compare the NAM on the left, the European on the right. Very similar picture here. Again, they're not going to agree exactly on the precipitation. That's because neither one of them is going to be exactly right, but you see the same pattern here. Very light hit or miss precipitation. Again, Saskatchewan Tuesday night and then across Manitoba on Wednesday. Now, as we just take kind of a zoomed out look, broadly looking at the next 5 days on top, days 5 to 10 on the bottom there, you see the drier pattern being continued over the next 10 days. And again, the same thing with the wet spot being across the western side of the Rockies here, across portions of British Columbia, coastal portions of British Columbia, really taking a ton of moisture here over the next 5 to 7 days. The reason for that, this big trough parked off the Pacific coast here. Very strong onshore flow, helping to take Pacific moisture and deposit it here across British Columbia. We see ridging ahead of that. That's what's responsible for the warmer and quieter conditions across the prairie. Now, as we hit play on this, we see a lot of moving parts here, but the pattern doesn't really change that much for us here across the prairie. We continue to be really under the influence of ridging for the most part over the next 5 to 10 days. At times, we get some stronger flow making its way in right here as we head toward late week across portions of Alberta. That could help deliver a little bit of moisture here, but we'll look quickly at the actual winds here at 500 millibars. You see this strong flow across the Pacific, but then really disorganized as you look at it over the prairie. We see this little wave here. Let me go through time with this because you can see the kind of entrance to this jet streak here. This is the first trough. You see, this is what helps give us those isolated showers Tuesday night as this trough begins to move ashore. This little wave, you see it come swing up through here into Manitoba and get kind of blasted off to the north as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. You see another core of stronger jet stream winds. Again, this is much of this being deposited or much of this helping to deposit moisture across British Columbia. And then we see these waves eject with much of their moisture having been wrung out of them. We see the same thing happening here then as we get into Saturday and Sunday, October 2nd and 3rd. Another wave coming ashore here with these, depositing a lot of the moisture off to our west. So a better way to do this, I'm showing the winds to talk about the moisture. Let's look at the moisture. This is your precipitable water content, the actual moisture content within the atmosphere. You can see these rivers of moisture being kind of deposited across Western Canada, specifically Western British Columbia here over the next 10 days. So here's what we got as we get the week started. See the showers here. A little moisture being drawn up from the south, from the Gulf of Mexico here to give us those showers across Saskatchewan Tuesday night, across Manitoba on Wednesday. A front will help to clear that moisture here as we head into the back half of the week. This is where we see the next wave coming in. Another river of moisture here being deposited Wednesday night into Thursday across southern British Columbia into the Pacific Northwest. We see just a little bit of that moisture making its way into the prairie, perhaps late week into the weekend. Here we go again. Sunday, another river of moisture here being just, a fire hose almost being deposited across western British Columbia. Much of the moisture wrung out by the Rockies there. Drier conditions prevail across the prairie. So tying it all together, we'll look at the precipitation type forecast over the next 10 days. Again, here's that area of low pressure right now responsible for the stronger winds in the higher elevations. Some blustery conditions elsewhere across the prairie, but much of the moisture being deposited across British Columbia. Some snow in the higher elevations across northern British Columbia, even some of that here across southern portions. Again, higher elevation snows here, but then we see those showers Tuesday night making their way into portions of Saskatchewan and then across Manitoba as we head through the day on Wednesday. Heading deeper into Thursday and Friday, we see some of that precipitation continue across the Manitoba-Ontario border. We see the next storm system, the next wave of moisture here across the west. Again, much of that deposited west of the prairie. Maybe blustery conditions here, but we'll really see those temperatures begin to soar late week as well. And then here's the next storm system. A lot of moisture being deposited across British Columbia here, this time across northern British Columbia as we head into late week. So the next 10 days of total accumulated precipitation, the European on the left, the GFS on the right, both with the same story, and that is soaking precipitation across western British Columbia, and then very dry conditions downstream across the rest of the prairie. Just those scattered showers Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then perhaps, talking about a similar broad brush light hit or miss shower opportunity late week across the prairie, but details on that going to be sketchy. And what do the details really matter? It's going to be continued on the dry side over the next 10 days. You can really see that here. We're looking at the European and the GFS, the ensemble, the probability of getting 1 or more inches of rainfall over the next 10 days. And you don't really see that pinging even, 10% probability across the prairie. We're talking about any precipitation opportunities over the next 10 days being on the light hit and miss side. Temperatures, they're going to be warming up as we head toward the later part of the week, especially across Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Here's your 10-day high and low temperature forecast in Calgary. Those highs generally between 15 and 20 degrees. Same thing here in Edmonton, that high of 23 today. Regina, you get another couple of days of that big heat, 29 and 30 for the high today and tomorrow, cooling off into the upper teens and low 20s for the rest of the week. Very similar in Saskatoon, and then across the east in Winnipeg, the heat peaks on Tuesday and Wednesday, cooling off slightly into the lower 20s to finish off the week.